HDFC Bank was issued at 10 rupees and it got listed at 30 rupees, 30.
Mm-hmm.
A neighbor walked into my house and said, Deepak, 10 ka 30 ho gaya, bech de. 10, 100 shares you have got 1,000 rupees worth of shares. If I sell it for 30, I will get 3,000. 3,000 में मैं कौन सा घर बनाऊंगा? Just for that reason, we did not sell it.
Mm-hmm.
Because 10 got listed at 30, he sold it at 30, I did not. Today, from that 10 rupee, that 1 rupee share is 1,000 rupee plus.
Mm.
That is how compounding has touched us. That is how compounding has changed our lives.
I'm sure you must have heard of the term compounding, but most of the time it's in the money context that we understand compounding. But today we're going to learn about compounding in different aspects. And for this, we have a special guest on Money Talks Unscripted. Welcome to this week's interview series. I'm your host, Pallavi. I have with me a very special guest, Mr. Deepak Arkhimani, who's written the book Compounding, Eighth Wonder of the World. I welcome you, Deepak, on the show. First of all,
Thank you, Pallavi.
First of all, a big thank you for introducing us to compounding in a very easy to understand manner. I mean, there are so many financial experts and they talk about so many things, but they are, all filled with a lot of jargons and which becomes very difficult for a common person to understand. But I think this is the
Yeah.
easiest read I have, come across in like last so many years, because not even in any of
Yeah.
the chapters or any of the references that you've made, that you made a person or the reader realize that you're talking about something very complicated such as personal finance. So tell us how you
Yeah.
came to this idea, because you've given some real life examples in how compounding affects us in different aspects of our life. So how you came up with this idea
Yeah.
and what has been the response of the book?
So thank you so much for inviting me over to this show, and an honor and a pleasure to be here. So we've been in financial services the day I became 18. In fact, my dad has been in financial services from even before I was born. This was 1963. And in those days, there was only one thing where you invested. You either had bank FDs or you had LIC. There was no other option in those days. So that's how he started out his career. And I was born. And the day I became 18, he said, I've been doing this for so many years. Why don't you just come join? So I'm actually technologically minded. I'm an electronic engineer by qualification. So I continued doing my thing, and just because he told me, "Come on, ye bhi karo," so got involved into personal finance.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it was he who did everything. He had his own client base, he had own schemes to offer. People kept on investing through him, but because it was now in my name, I was the guy who needed to go and give the exam, to go and write out the check, to fill in the form, to sign. That is how we were introduced to personal finance as a concept. This is one subject which is not taught in school, it is not taught in colleges.
Mm-hmm.
There is no subject called personal finance anywhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
You only get to understand it and know it through experience. So having, that thing to keep on learning, to keep on updating, to keep yourself abreast with whatever is happening in
Mm-hmm.
financial markets was always there. And luckily, in the last 5, 8, 10, 15 years, every financial service provider, whether it be life insurance, whether it be mutual funds, the PFRDA, has taken it upon themselves to educate
Mm-hmm.
their distributors, the financial planners, the advisors. So in the last few years, a lot of education and a continuing education happened. And they say, excellence is an habit. So ever since we were in school, we used to come first in class, getting first in exam, gave
Mm-hmm.
our, investment advisor exam, came first, whatever. So that thing was always there. So
Okay.
we always love to study, know more what is happening, and go to the next level. Then there came a point where you felt, now you know a lot. How am I helping everybody else? I'm helping my clients who are doing their financial planning through me or are doing their investment and insurance through me. But why not reach out to a bigger crowd?
Mm-hmm.
And I was sitting in my office one day, and one of my mutual fund RMs came to visit me, and he said, "I've heard so much about you. I follow you on Twitter, and there is so much knowledge you are giving out. Why don't you write a book?"
Mhm.
So that is where the first bell rang. Bati jali ki. This is actually a good idea. Why
Mhm.
not write a book?
Okay.
And at that time, luckily or coincidentally, I got to attend one or two seminars on book writing, on
Mhm.
how to author a book, how to design, what chapters to write, how to start, how to close. Everything fell into place. Having said that, this is actually not the first book I started writing. This is actually book number two.
Okay.
Book number one is a different book which started writing. It was about personal finance only.
Mhm.
But again, then there is a small story to this. There is a TEDx event which happens every year in Mumbai. I'm sure you must be aware. It happens in a lot of cities. So
Mhm.
2 years back, I was attending the TEDx event as an attendee.
Okay.
And not a lot of people know that when you are attending the TEDx event, sometimes they keep a few slots open for people who can walk in and actually talk on whatever they want.
Okay.
To
Okay.
become a TEDx speaker, there is a selection process.
Mhm.
But in this TEDx Gateway event, so this event is from like morning 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock in the evening. And
Mhm.
I'm attending as an attendee and I'm sitting over there and then I'm having a cup of coffee and a girl walks up to me and says, Kemani sir, aap idhar kya kar rahe hain? What are you doing over here? Said, I'm attending. She said, no, no, that's not what I meant. There are some slots which are empty as a speaker.
Okay.
Why don't you go and apply?
Mhm.
Now she's heard me before at some stage.
Mhm.
And I told her, no, this is the first time I'm attending. I'm attending as an attendee. Next year we'll see.
Mhm.
So I'm still drinking my coffee, and 5-10 minutes again later he comes. What are you sitting over here and doing? You go and register yourself. Now I'm thinking there is this 25-year-old girl who has actually got more conviction in me than myself.
Mhm. Right. Right.
I went up, registered, got the slot, and spoke. Now, luckily, I spoke upon this topic, which was compounding, which is uh, something which is very close to my heart, having been spoken about it.
Mhm.
In the crowd who was actually listening to me, there was a guy who does something called Best Talks. Just like we have TEDx Talks, there is Josh Talks. There is this one person who produces Best Talks, BEST,
Mhm.
business, entertainment, education, some best talk. At the end of the talk, he said, I heard your 12 minutes talk and I liked it. Why don't you come and do a video shoot with me about the same topic?
Okay.
Okay, let's go and do it. Went up to his studio and we did 16, 17-minute talk on compounding in one take.
Okay. Okay.
There wasn't a single break. We started and we closed it, and he was very happy and I was very happy. That is the time when I said that if I can speak on a topic which is very close to my heart and I can do it in one take in 18 minutes, I can
Mhm.
speak on the TEDx stage, why not write a book?
Mhm.
So, spoke, video, followed into a book. That
Okay.
is how it happened.
Mhm.
Having said that, you also mentioned that the idea was not to have any jargon. There is
Mhm.
no formula in the book except for the formula of compounding A is equals to P. Except
Mhm.
for that formula, I haven't put anything else. It's try to make it as simple as
As
possible
simple as
for a
possible.
person to
Mhm.
learn and understand what compounding is. Yes,
Mhm.
that was how it started and that's how it happened. The first book, by the way, isn't yet complete. So now after this has got printed, published, and done with, I need to go and complete that book so that then gets published.
Okay. Okay. So this book came out, like when did it come out? Last year, or when was it first published?
Last year, it was released. It was released on 20th Jan last year, and luckily, uh, in social media and all my friends and followers, and with the blessings of everybody, of friends and family, it went on to become the number one bestseller on the day it was launched.
Yeah.
So it was launched in the morning, and by evening it was a bestseller. So
So
that
we're
gave us
kind
a
of
chance to call yourself a best-selling author.
sure, sure, sure. You definitely deserve that title as well. And we're also kind of celebrating the 1 year anniversary in a way. So I would like to know from
Yes,
you
yes.
that, it's been a long journey. I mean, not for the book, but you as a financial planner, as financial expert. Tell us on a personal level, how
Yeah.
has your understanding changed of money in last so many years? You told us that you first got introduced
Great.
at a very early age of 18 because of your father, and
Yes.
you got exposed to
Yes.
these things, and you
Yeah.
kind of got involved in the other incidents which you narrated.
Yes.
Just one door opened and
Yeah.
things like that just fell into place. So tell us, as a person,
Yeah.
what has changed
Yeah.
for you in your perception? Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay. So the fascination with money has always been there since we were children. I remember, and this is the story from actually my first book. I had
Okay.
mentioned it over there, and I remember I was very small. I think probably 3 or 4 years old, maybe I can recall.
Mhm.
And we always used to go to my grandfather's house, my nana's house,
Okay.
you know. And I was his first male grandson from his first daughter, you know. So that love and bond was there. And whenever he used to see me, like, wow. So every time I used to meet him, he used to, in those days, and I think I'm talking about 1970 or 71, 50 years back,
Okay.
4 years old.
Mhm.
Every time, whenever I used to go and meet him in his house, I used to hug his pajama and kurta, and then he used to reach out to his pocket and take out one rupee note.
Mhm.
1 rupee.
Okay.
1 rupee was a lot of money in 1970.
Absolutely.
So every time when mummy used to say, "आज नाना के घर चल रहे हैं, हाँ 1 रुपया मिलेगा," the thinking of a child when you
Right.
are small. So
Hmm.
every time we used to get that 1 rupee, kharchi, come back home, put it into our piggy bank, and then piggy bank. And when that piggy bank finally got full, we broke it open and there were like 30, 40, 50, 80 rupees. I also don't remember. I remember taking out that money, my dad standing next to me and telling me, "ये पैसा मेरे को दो. I will go and open a bank account in your name."
Hmm.
I clearly remember there was a bank account in my name, minor, represented by my father. He used to sign on my behalf. And the very first piggy bank which we broke, the money went into the bank. And when we grew up, when we became 18, you got a chance to, have your own account, manage your own money. I became 18 in 1984. And coincidentally, 1982, 83, 84 was the time when the stock markets had just started becoming visible to people. The public issue market had opened up. I remember the very, very first, my first investment, my first check which I may have written in my life was in an IPO of a company.
Hmm.
So 1984, 85, 86, when the economy was opening up, a lot of new companies came out with IPOs,
Hmm.
started investing. Some used to get allotment. Most of that used to come back. There was a frenzy, just like that there is an IPO frenzy happening now. Even 30 years ago, there used to be this IPO frenzy.
Hmm.
Having said that, in that IPO frenzy, I hold HDFC Bank at 10 rupees, I hold ICICI Bank at 10 rupees, IndusInd Bank at 10 rupees, and lots of other companies came out in those days at 10 rupees. Those shares we just kept on buying because everybody in the market was saying buy, buy, buy.
Hmm.
And for some reason, we never got to sell them. There were a need to sell them. I
Hmm.
remember SDFC. I'll share this story with you, and I shared this story with a lot of people. SDFC Bank was issued at 10 rupees, and it got listed at 30 rupees, 30.
Hmm.
A neighbor walked into my house and said, "Deepak, 10 ka 30 ho gaya, bech de." 10, 100 shares you have got 1,000 rupees worth of shares. If I sell it for 30, I will get 3,000. 3,000 में मैं कौन सा घर बनाऊंगा? Just for that reason, we did not sell it.
Hmm.
Because 10 got listed at 30, he sold it at 30, I did not. Today, from that 10 rupee, that 1 rupee share is 1,000 rupee plus.
Hmm.
That is how compounding has touched us. That is how compounding has changed our lives. All those small 1,000, 2,000 rupee investments which were done 30 years ago, 35 years ago, with just the purpose of not knowing to compound. Just because एक issue आया है, सब लोग डाल रहे हैं, चलो हम भी डालते हैं. Let me also apply. Nobody in our family was from a share stock market background or who understands shares, what is PE,
Hmm.
what is dividend, what is expansion, how stock prices goes up, nothing. Just एक ये था कि issue आया है, चलो लगाते हैं. Luckily, out of say 20 or 30 shares which we probably got allotted, 5 or 8 companies disappeared. मतलब वो पैसा लेके भाग गए. I can still remember there was Samrat Bicycles and then there was CRB and there were some companies which overnight they disappeared with your money. However, whatever was allotted and what we kept for ourselves.
Hmm.
grew and compounded and actually really made our lives. So that is where the seed of compounding was sown in my life, right very early.
Right, but this kind of reminds me of an example from the book, and I quote here that the quiz that you mentioned, that if given a choice, would you choose 1 crore rupees, or you would choose 1 rupee, which compounds and then gets up into a bigger amount. So I tried doing it, with people around me, and I kind of got the same answers that anybody would, think of the short term, that why would I wait 30 days for that 1 rupee to compound? I would rather pick 1 crore rupees, not knowing that it would multiple into a bigger, huge amount like 100 crore rupees. So
Just
I would,
imagine, just imagine, just our mind is incapable of thinking into such big multiples.
right.
1 rupee multiplying every day, doubling every day
Hmm,
at the end of 11 days is 1,000.
hmm, hmm,
1 rupee doubling at the end of 21 days is 10 lakhs.
right.
And 1 rupee doubling every day at the end of 31 days is 107 crores.
Yeah.
107 crores. You just simply cannot imagine. And also, when I started writing the book,
Mhm.
that 1 rupee doubling every day came as a side reference. Actually, the main story was that chessboard.
Right,
You
right.
know, the chessboard where you double your rice number of rice starting from 1 to 64. 31 is right there in the middle. We are we are not trained. Our brains are not trained to think of numbers in such multiples. So if I ask somebody, will you take 1 crore rupees or 1 rupee doubling every day for the next 31 days? First,
Most of
the
them would
first
pick the
sense is
1 crore
shock.
rupees.
Huh? Most of them will say 1 crore. Why? Because first of all, they will not believe you कि पैसा double हर दिन में हो सकता है कि नहीं. Then you convince them, no, you believe me, it is actually going to double. Then people who are really smart now will think there is some catch over there. So let me select the other option. Nowadays, I ask this question. Of course, a lot of people have also read the book. So now they say, no, I will take the 1 rupee doubling every day. Then you ask them, how much will you get after 31 days? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. In 1 crore and 107 crores. Really, really.
Where the family environment may not be such that they may be getting introduced to these concepts at an early age, and by the time they become decision makers, they are not really in a position to make good decisions when it comes to their money, because they probably have not been trained
Yeah.
due to
Yeah.
the background, the family background, and the kind of environment they are in. So if somewhere would be, according to you, how would he or she should be able to handle the issues, and how can they learn more about investing? Of course, this book, I think, will really be a good support to start with. But what could be the other possible ways if one wants to learn?
Well, I've got two DMAT accounts.
Okay.
There is this one DMAT account where all these shares which I have bought right from the beginning 20, 30, 25 years ago are just there. And luckily, this DMAT account is not tradable. It's not linked to a trading account. It's just there.
Okay.
I also have another DMAT account from which I love to buy and sell.
Hmm.
There are times वो खुजली होती है ना, चलो आज मार्केट ऊपर है, let me buy this or let me sell this.
Hmm.
Let me tell you, out of these two DMAT accounts, the one which does not have the trading account linked to it is the one which makes money for me.
Okay.
This guy, where you continuously keep on trying to sell and buy and try to think, chalo ye leta hu, ye bechta hu. Nobody makes any money over there. Whatever amount is there, it just stays over there. It goes out, it comes back, and not a lot of money.
Hmm.
Clearly, this is personal experience, and this is not a story. This has actually happened with me, and this was the learning in the past few years. Sat down one day and said, this account is like 10, 15 years old. I'm always trying to buy and sell, and I'm not still making a lot of money. And this guy, which is just there, just kept, I don't even actually refer to it as what is there. There are a lot of people who will either on a monthly basis or a quarterly basis, a lot of financial planners, let's do a quarterly review of your investment. Why? Why do you need a quarterly review of your investment? If there is a long-term investment and it is supposed to be long-term, you don't need to review it. Just let it be there, do its job, let it grow. So this account for years, there have been times where I haven't even tracked what is the amount, which share is going up. Of course, when you're filing your income tax returns, you have to list what you have, but nothing else is done over there. So if you are starting out as an investor, and you probably read my book, heard me, or listened to TV channels, or read on newspapers, or follow Pallavi, or you know anything about personal finance. the first thing you need to learn is your investments need time. Compounding takes time.
Time.
Whatever you do, if there is anything which needs to grow, you need to give it time. The more time you give it, the more time it will multiply. So again, if you read that book, that question of when I'm addressing groups of people and attending, taking some seminars, I always like to give this example. As a salaried person, let's say I'm working with someone, I give my time to my boss, and in return of that time, I get money. As a professional, as a business person, I'm giving time to my business and I get compensated by money or profit. When I'm giving time, I'm getting money. What happens if I give time to my money? Instead of selling your time and getting money, let me bring in money and let me give it time. And give it time, more number of times. As I give time to my money, it grows. The more number of times I give time to my money, it compounds fast. This is the first thing. If you are starting your investment journey, start early, give it time. It will work for you, and there will come a point when you will not need to.
In fact, not just from the money point of view, you also explained compounding in different other dimensions. And typically, what I loved the most was the effects of negative habits and how they compound and how they affect us in the later stage. So, could you tell us a little more about that and how can we really have control over the bad things, I mean, over the negative things in our lives?
Yeah. So whenever we talk about compounding, invariably everybody is talking about the positive effects of compounding. What will happen if you give time to your habits? If there is a habit, and if it's a good habit, and if you keep on doing it repeatedly, it compounds. If you give time to your money, it compounds. However, if you have a bad habit, and if you do a bad habit repeatedly, it compounds, which is negative compounding. Now, if I am a smoker, if I started
So tell us
smoking, it
one
was
thing
probably
besides
one cigarette a
compounding,
day.
are there other
A few months
concepts
later,
which are
it
close
is
to your heart and
a
which
pack a
you
day.
might have thought of,
A few years later, it
combining
is a
and
few
compiling it
packs
into
a
a
day.
book in a
Now, what
similar
is happening
format,
over here?
or
It's a
are there
habit
any other
which is
concepts that you're
compounding.
working on?
I am picking up a cigarette from a box which says it is injurious to your health. The title of my first book was actually which says you could stop saving, start investing. Because it's a habit and because it is compounded, a lot of you can't stop yourself. Right? When they grow up, especially in our families, in our culture, normally it's the father or the head of the family who takes decisions on your behalf, who does investments in your name on your behalf, even when you've grown up. I can tell you that even up to last month, when I need to go to my dad. He's 82 years old, and I need to tell him, आज first है, इस महीने का खर्ची दो. Not that I don't have money for myself, but it's that respect which he commands, because he still takes care of the finances of the house, knows where all the money is, where the investments need to happen. And because of that respect, on the first of every month when my pocket is empty, I will still go and ask money from him. Having said that, that's I'm sure a lot of people who are listening to this will agree that this is what happens in most families, patriarchal families. It's the father or the eldest person in the family who takes decision. And most of the times, we do not get a chance to decide what happens with our money. For those who are financially aware, luckily, or somebody like us, where we had options of starting early and letting the money go, it was an easy choice. For everybody else, we need to understand the difference between saving and investing. Saving is passive, investing is saving will give you straight line returns, investing will give you up and down returns, but compounding on investment is higher than compounding on saving. Today, if I'm saving my money in a bank, I'm getting 5.5% return. Most of the people are in the 20-30% tax bracket. Out of the 5.5%, 1.5% is gone. You're left with 4%. The stock market in the last 1 year has given 100% return. I'm not saying that every year it is going to give 100% return, but just imagine if you had kept money in the bank, you got 4% returns. If you had just invested that money sensibly, Forget stocks, forget mutual funds, a pure simple index fund where you did not use to use your mind or head a lot, just a simple ETF. Even year to year basis, you would have been up almost 18 to 20%. So clearly, there needs to be asset allocation. There needs to be money which is always saved, never invested. Point taken. However, when you are investing for your future, you are investing for your retirement, you are investing for your child's education, you are investing for going abroad on a vacation. If that money is kept at 3-4%, you will never reach your target. You have to start investing that money. Now, whether you want to invest it in the stock market, whether you want to invest it in Bitcoin, you want to invest it in real estate, that is your choice. Clearly,
Right.
a bank account
In
is
your
not
book,
going
you
to
have
make you a
mentioned that
million.
starting
Idea
is
is that.
important. Getting started is the most important thing too. And tell us what keeps you going. And of course, what I can recall that without fail, you've been doing this 1 minute videos since for the last so many years, right? And you always make sure that you do it like 365
So
days in a year. So what keeps you going and what keeps
started
you
right in the
motivated?
beginning. Everything went smoothly for the first few days. Then on one of the days, you are simply doing your own work and you suddenly forgot it. Arey, aaj ka video.
Right.
10:30 in the night, I remembered कि आज video नहीं डाला है. I went into the corner, one room, shot a video of myself and put it out at 10:30 in the night. And then we were having a conversation with another person like this. And he said, I remember, I was following you and I used to get notification at 11 o'clock in the night that Deepak has uploaded a video. Wondering what is going on. So, as I said, it was totally unplanned. It was just started. Let me do it. It's a thought which started.
Whenever any opportunity has come to you, you've always grabbed it with your full might and given your 100%. And we really hope that your new book comes out very soon so that we connect again for the second book. But before we let you go, you said you also have interest in music and being there on the panel for a musical show. Is it possible for you to hum few lines for our viewers?
Yeah, I mean this will be apt towards the closing of the program. I'm not too good a singer. I'm a good bathroom singer, but
that's perfectly okay.
This is one song which I like.
But yeah, it's not a musical show. We just want to hear a few lines from you. That's
yeah. चलते चलते मेरे ये गीत याद रखना, कभी अलविदा ना कहना, कभी अलविदा ना कहना, रोते हंसते बस यूं ही तुम गुनगुनाते रहना, कभी अलविदा ना कहना, कभी अलविदा ना कहना.
This was Deepak Khemani, podcaster, speaker, financial expert, and the author of Compounding 8 Wonder of the World. If you like the video content, do subscribe. Thanks for watching and keep the talks on.